Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. You have to remember to drink a lot of water here in Vrindavan this time of year. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, I'd like to welcome you all to Srila Prabhupada's home, Vrindavan Dham. And thank you for welcoming me here to speak today. I haven't been to Bangalore yet, so I'm here in Vrindavan. You want me to come to Bangalore, you just have to make arrangement. I want to go there. So I was asking Prabhu on the way here, anything specific that you can speak about Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, perhaps? So how long are you here now? When do you go back to Bangalore? Friday. And today is Tuesday. Prabhupada said, a sign of craziness, not knowing what day it is. Many of us are crazy. Here in Vrindavan, I don't know what day it is. So, Prabhu spoke a little bit from my, from my book about my coming to Krishna consciousness. I joined in 1971. So actually, I met the devotees on April 22nd, 1971. So that was just a few days. That was my anniversary of when I met the devotees. I was 19 years old. Anyone here 19 years old? Everyone's older? Jeez. Very good. And I was looking for God. Actually, I didn't know what I was looking for. I was in college, just a young boy. I was from Catholic school, Italian Catholic. All Italians are Catholic. So I went to Catholic school, and at 8 years old, they made me an altar boy. The altar boy is like Pujari. So you ring bells. So I've been ringing bells for a long, long time. I was ringing bells in the church, in the Catholic church. At 19 years old, I became very unhappy, like many of us in the 60s and the 70s in the U.S. Just like now, the stars, so much is going on. You see, so much is being exposed. People are becoming divided. So it was like that then, in 1970. Anyway, I looked here and I looked there. I was not a philosophical person. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't going to libraries trying to find books on spiritual life, Eastern religion, none of that. I read the Bible, and there's nothing in there I understood. And then I went to, in the U.S. we call it born-again Christians. Born-again Christians are the closest thing you'll see to Hare Krishnas, because they go to church and they all dance. They sing and dance. And sometimes people even, they say, speak in tongues. speaking in tongues means they have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what I learned in Catholic religion. Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, super soul. He's the person in every... I learned this as a young boy. God's in our heart. But I don't know why he was making me so unhappy. So I went to even them, and they were born-again Christians generally, or we say black. And they're very, you go to them and they'd sing and dance and sweat, and people would say things you didn't know what they were saying. I wanted to feel God. I didn't want to learn about him philosophically. I didn't want to figure out why there is a God. I just wanted to feel him. And I wanted to be happy by feeling him. But it didn't work there either. They were all very happy, but I felt nothing. And then on April 22nd, with my best friend from college, we went to a park. It was Earth Day. You're all familiar with Earth Day. So this was the second annual Earth Day. First one, 1970. So now 1971. And the park, there was a big festival, which means rock bands. A lot of intoxication and a lot of rock songs, people playing. So we went. But in one area were these funny-looking people. Really funny-looking, shaved heads, big, bright, white tilak. It wasn't chandan. It was called Fuller's Earth that you got at the hardware store. That's what you would patch walls with. You would put it on 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock the next morning, it was still on your forehead, like paint. Actually, very nice. So I saw them, me and my friends saw them chanting, dancing, men and women, about a dozen of them from the Philadelphia temple. And he said, come on, let's see them, let's talk. And I'm like, no. They look like Martians. They're from a different planet. Hare Krishnas are from a different planet. They're not from this world. Anyway, he convinced me. And I went up to one of them and said, I want to find out about God. Oh, that was the only question I had to ask. He didn't stop talking for an hour. He told me about God. He told me his name. We didn't know these things in the USA. We didn't know anything. He told me his name, his address, his mother's name, his father's name, his girlfriend's name, everything he told me. And I just agreed with everything. That was Krishna's mercy. But both of us, we moved into the temple a few days later. We went from Philadelphia, we wound up in New Vrindavan, Bahulaban farm. This was a new farm. So we went there, we shaved our heads. I was there for 16 months, New Vrindavan. So I started out at the top. I was milking cows. I became a cowherd boy as soon as I joined it. And I've gone downhill ever since. Now I don't milk cows anymore. And somehow by Krishna's mercy, by Prabhupada's mercy, after 16 months, now I was in the kitchen. Radhanath Swami tells a story. I was cooking khichdi for 300 people every day because everyone came to New Vrindavan to see Prabhupada. And I thought I was also going to get to see him, go to classes up on Govardhan Hill. New Vrindavan has Govardhan Hill. But I was in charge of the kitchen, which means you do everything in the kitchen. In charge, you have no helpers in those days. In charge meant you were everything. But for the festival, I did have help. Radhanath Das Brahmachari, he was rolling chapatis, and Bir Krishna Das Adhikari, he was cutting vegetables. So this was the situation. But because I was in the kitchen, I never got to see Prabhupada. No morning walks, no classes, no room conversations. Because a few months before, I had all of those in Los Angeles, New Dwarka, when I went there for my Brahmin initiation. And because I wasn't in my temple, and I was with Kirtanananda Swami, he was like one of the first devotees, the first sannyasi, so many things. Because I was with him, I got to be right by Prabhupada. So I was initiated, we're going back and forth. So now it's July 22nd, 1971, 90 days later, 3 months. 3 months, you would get initiated. You were in the temple chanting, following 3 months, first initiation, almost automatic. That's all you wanted to do, be initiated by Prabhupada. So we went to New York, July 22nd, just like here, very, very hot. We say 3 H's, hot, humid. What's the other one? Another H. Anyway, very hot. And the temple room was half to this size. And it's packed because Prabhupada's there. People would come from all around, all neighboring cities to see Prabhupada. So he was there at New York Temple. It was called Brooklyn, New York. And every day Prabhupada initiated 10 devotees. This was huge. Now they initiate 10,000 at one time. Jagataka Swami, 10,000. Then 10 every day. Prabhupada would chant on the beads. So this was the first time I got to see Prabhupada when I went there. You had heard about him. That's all we talked about. We had Krishna book. We were all just learning about Krishna's pastimes here in Vrindavan. And then we would hear, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada did this, Prabhupada went to this place, and while it was at this place, he did this. This was our conversations. So now I'm seeing him for the first time, and the temple room's packed with devotees. And Prabhupada gives class, and it's like 40 degrees, 42 degrees. And inside is like 50 degrees. No air conditioning, nothing. In 1971. So my first experience with Prabhupada was not my initiation, it was the day before when I arrived. So everyone's in the temple. Kirtan's going on. Kirtanananda, he's right here, because he's Prabhupada's sannyasi. I'm his servant. So I'm right here. So even though I was just this young boy, no one, just a little bhakta, I wasn't Sankirtan, I wasn't president, I wasn't sannyasi, I wasn't nothing. But I'm right there by Prabhupada because I knew someone. You have to know someone in Krishna consciousness. You have to align yourself with a devotee. That's what we do. We take shelter of a devotee. So I'm right there. So at the end of the kirtan, Prabhupada starts chanting pranam mantras. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa. Everybody gets down. Now we were all standing. So now when we get down, we take up much more space. So we cannot even move. We're all offering. And no one stands. No, you get down. Prabhupada's right there. And I'm seeing him from just a few foot away for the first time. And we try to understand, who is this person? You're looking at him, and he's beautiful, and he's golden, he's effulgent, and you see his eyes. His eyes are always wet. They're like diamonds. His eyes look like that. They're always wet. So we figure that's love of Krishna. He's always crying. Prabhupada, always thinking of Krishna. So you're just looking. So then we all offered obeisances. And I just want to see Prabhupada. So I'm down on my hands and knees, very fast, because I wanted to get up to see Prabhupada. But when I got up, everyone else was much more reverent. So they're doing it nicely. So I sat up. but no one around me was up. So when I sat up, I sat on one brahmachari's head, because he was still down. So I literally put my bottom right on his head, and he pushed me off. And I went flying right onto Prabhupada. Right on. Like I was doing a diving Dandavad. I just put right on him. And what did Prabhupada say? What is the difficulty? So that was the very first words I heard from his lotus lips. And I just, of course, don't say anything. You can't explain. So that phrase, what is the difficulty? Prabhupada would use it. When I was with him, I would hear it. Most of the time, he would say, this Krishna consciousness is so nice. We chant, we dance. What else do we do? Take prasadam. We're always eager to take prasadam. He said, what is the difficulty? But with me, it was a different way. He had different ways. So me, it was, what's wrong with you, you fool? So so that was my very first experience. So many things. As I was telling Prabhu, you have to bring me to Bangalore for 3-4 days. We do classes on Prabhupada every day. One class, you can't get anything. You get something. But you need a whole 3-4 days of diving in to Prabhupada nectar. So this is just a little sample, little taste. So then, that was a year later. Now it was beginning of September 1972 when Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan. I had personal association in Los Angeles when I got second initiation, Brahmin initiation. How long before you could get Brahmin? 1 year total. So it was like exactly 1 year after moving into the temple, I was given Brahmin initiation. And then I got to see Prabhupada every day with Kirtanananda. I got to go on the morning walks. I got to sit in the garden in the afternoon and read Krishna book to him. Krishna book had just come out, just 2 years before. This was famous for us, Krishna book. We're all reading and we're hearing for the first time about Krishna's pastimes here in Vrindavan. Imagine, I'm 20 years old, I know nothing about Krishna. And everything we hear is the first time. It was very ecstatic to have that experience one day after wondering, what am I doing in this world? And then you find out one day, we were all in ecstasy. In the newspapers, they would call us bright-faced, because we were on Sankirtan chanting, distributing books, always bright-faced, happy, and working like anything to give Krishna to others. Anyway, Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan in 1972 for 1 week. It was his second time there for this big festival, Janmashtami festival. And it was the night before he left. I think it was September 5th. And Kirtanananda came in his room. He had a cane. He had polio at one point. So he had a cane. And I'm cooking milk sweets for Mangal offering in the morning. I'm making rasgulla, sandesh, sweet rice. And he came in the room, he said, do you want to be Prabhupada's servant? Yes? Who didn't? Everyone. We all wanted, every boy, we wanted to be Prabhupada's servant. So he said, okay. He said, tomorrow you'll leave with him. His servant was gone. He came to New Vrindavan, he had no servant. So Kirtanananda offered me Prabhupada. So the next morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, so that was 8 o'clock at night, so it's not even 12 hours. I'm leaving with Prabhupada. So he brings me into Prabhupada's room. It was a little farmhouse, called a little rancher house. 1 story, just the ground floor. It's 5 in the morning, Prabhupada's sitting on the floor on a cushion behind a desk, just like this. 1 light for his translation work. And I go in with Kirti and it's still dark out. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and just the 1 light on the desk. And I go in and we offer obeisances. And Kirti Prabhupada, this is Shruta Kirti. He's going to be your servant. Prabhupada didn't arrange facility for himself. Whatever Krishna provided. He didn't say, my servant's gone, get me someone to take care of me. No, he never considered him being taken care of. If Krishna wants, he'll provide. He was very transcendental. So he said, this is Shruta Kirti, and Prabhupada just looked. That was all. And then Kirtanananda said, he's a very good cook, but he doesn't know how to massage. Prabhupada said, anyone can massage. That wasn't true. And now we call that misinformation. Prabhupada was very particular about massage. Very, very good. No sweaty palms. If you had sweaty palms, you can't touch him. If your hands were rough, you can't touch him. If you massage, no offense to ladies, Mataji, but if you massage like a girl, you can't massage him. He liked hard massage, strong massage. And then he looked at me and he reached under his desk and he got his lota. We had heard about Prabhupada's lota. That was one of the stories, went all around the society, Prabhupada's lota. You know, like Krishna's flute? This was Prabhupada's lota. It was not ordinary piece. This was Prabhupada that traveled around the world with Prabhupada. More than his disciples, this lota. The story, do you know what the story was about the lota? Would you like to hear? Yeah! This lota, I didn't even know what a lota was. None of us knew what a lota was. We didn't know lota. But now I see Prabhupada grabbed his lota. So the story was, when I joined April 1971, May, where did Prabhupada go? Anyone know? May, he went to Russia. That was his one trip to Russia. He initiated one boy, 1971. Now look, there's more Russian devotees than outside of Indian body devotees, more Russian devotees than anyone. Prabhupada went there for 1 week, made one disciple. You see the potency, the pure devotee. And while he was there, and we used to hear this called propaganda. In the US, we would hear in Russia, people stand in line just to get milk, just to get sugar, just to get flour, atta. It was true, because the devotees, they were also struggling to get milk, sugar, rice. You would stand in line for hours. Everything was rationed. And it was one day, Shama Sundar, Aravinda, they went out and they got milk, sugar, and rice. So they brought it back. So what did Prabhupada tell them to make? Kheer. Milk, sugar, rice. You make kheer, sweet rice. So they made sweet rice, pot of sweet rice. But when they were done, they didn't have enough containers. So what did Prabhupada tell them? Use the lota. Lota's for the bathroom. So this was one of my first instructions I learned. Time, place, and circumstance. You have all heard that Krishna consciousness according to time, place, and circumstance. So Prabhupada put sweet rice in his lota that was under his desk for fitting, take to the bathroom. So time, place, and circumstance. We're not fanatics, Prabhupada said. So now I got to see a lota. That lota that had sweet rice in it. So then Prabhupada reached under his desk, my very first minutes. He picked up his lota, he got up, started walking. He said, "Follow me." That was my very first instruction as his personal servant. Perfect. Follow me. Everything is like that in Krishna consciousness. You can take it on a very simple, basic level, or you can understand it on a very high level. That's why we say you don't read the books once. You keep reading, and you'll see more and more every time you read. So I followed him. We went out the door, a few steps, and Prabhupada said, "Wait here." I stopped, and he kept walking behind the trees. And after a few minutes, he came back, and he handed me his lota. He said, "Now you wash it with the soil, not dirt and water. Put it back under the desk." I said, "Yes, Prabhupada." So that was my very first service, cleaning Prabhupada's lota. It was my first service. So he's showing me, this is your position. Your servant, you clean my lota. Whatever I say, you do. So that was my first instruction. So at the time, just young, just doing whatever he says. But when I look back, I can understand what it meant to be Prabhupada's servant. I never had to clean his lota again. 2.5 years. Every time I would be on the morning walk, so many Matajis would be in Prabhupada's room, cleaning the floors, changing his sheets, fresh towels, fresh flowers on his desk, polished his lota, polished his cooker. He had the brass cooker. So I never had to do it again, but he made me do it that first time, clean my lota. So then, it was just a month later, Prabhupada came here for Kartik. It was the only time he attended a Kartik festival for the entire month since he left. How many years ago? 8 years ago, when he left Vrindavan. This was his first full Kartik here in Vrindavan, staying at Radha Damodar Temple. Have you visited his room there? I used to stay right on the balcony, in between sitting room and his kitchen. I would sit there. Everything was so different. Now, Jamuna would cook for him. My main service was massage and cooking in the West. But when we came to India, there were qualified cooks here. Jamuna, she was the most qualified, best cook. Palika, Madri, Malati, all these different disciples, female disciples, they knew how to cook proper, that Prabhupada wanted. So I didn't have to cook. So I would just sit on the balcony and just chant it. Vrindavan. Everyone has a bead bag in Vrindavan. You don't have to feel no shame, no embarrassment. You've got your shaved head, your tilak. If you don't, you should be ashamed of yourself here in Vrindavan. You must wear dhoti, kurta, shaved head. You have to do these things. It's natural. And I chanted 64 rounds a day for that one Kartik. I've never done it since. But then I did it, somehow by Prabhupada's mercy. So I didn't know what to do, because cooking was like a main service I had. Spending time cooking. So I'm just sitting there. And I hadn't even been in Prabhupada's kitchen. That was Jamuna's That was her territory. Her kitchen, you know what kitchen was? 1972 in Vrindavan. She's sitting on the floor, and she has a bucket stove, and in it is what? Coal, cow dung for chapatis. This is how she cooked. One bucket of water there. Very, very simple. No big, wonderful kitchen. Rolling chapatis, everything right sitting on the floor. And I saw her through the jolly door, the screen door. I could see her. I was young. I was 19. She's already 10 years older than me. She's like almost 30. That's a big, big difference when you're young, those 10 years. Everyone I was around was 10 years older than me. All those years with Prabhupada. I was like a little nobody. Prabhupada servant, nobody. So I'm sitting on the balcony and Prabhupada walks by me. I offer obeisances. And he goes into the kitchen to take prasadam. And I'm just sitting there. And after 5 minutes or so, I just got curious. So I went to the kitchen door and I opened it up to peek inside. And there's Jamuna right there, rolling another chapati, whole body shaking. Just like from Krishna book, you know, just like Mother Yasoda, everything, Jesus. And I look in, and then I saw in the corner, I see Prabhupada sitting on a little asana, a little choki in front of him, and his thali there. It was marble, thali. And he sees me at the door, and he looks. He said, "Did you take prasadam?" I said, "No, Prabhupada." I said, "I'll take with the devotees after they're finished." He said, "Come in, take prasadam." So again, I refused. That's also offensive. You get any order from your guru, you say yes. You just do it. You don't disagree. He's going to give you something, he's going to yell at you, he's going to give you service, whatever it is, you just do it. But again, I'm thinking, nobody sits and eats with Prabhupada. He always sat by himself, no talking, and he would honor prasadam. It's also service, taking prasadam. The second time, he said, "Come sit down, take prasadam." Again, I said, "No." So then the third time, he said, "Come, take prasadam." "Yes, Prabhupada." I wanted to the first time, but I thought I was being polite and being good devotee, but no, that was not the case. So that one day in my whole life, I got to sit next to Prabhupada as he took prasadam. I was always bringing him prasadam. I didn't take prasadam, I brought him prasadam. But he had me sit right next to him. And as soon as I sat down, you don't have to tell Jamuna anything. She puts another thali in front of me, little katoris, starts putting in a little rice and a little bit of sabji in each katori, puts a fresh chapati down in front of me. And Prabhupada's like, "Take." He doesn't say anything after that. He's eating. Watching Prabhupada eat was a very transcendental activity. He would chew very, very well. His mother would be very happy. He chewed. You know, when you say, "Chew your food," Prabhupada would chew. You see him chew and chew. And now I'm sitting next to him and I'm eating. And I get the chapati and I put in a little sabji. And I realized I didn't know anything about cooking. I had never tasted such wonderful, tasty prasadam Jamuna was cooking. So for the next 15 minutes, Prabhupada and I were taking prasadam together in Vrindavan, at Radha Damodar temple, as he's looking, Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir right through his window, and I'm right next to him. Again, I never realized what a special moment Prabhupada gave to me. So then now we're both, and I'm young boy now, I'm 20 years old, and I'm eating. We ate a lot. Brahmacharis, we ate a lot of prasada. So eating. Prabhupada was finished. I'm finished. And the whole time, Jamuna's serving him chapatis, serving me chapatis, adding little sabji as needed. So at the end, getting up, and Prabhupada looks at me. He said, "Did you like the prasadam?" I said, "Yes, Prabhupada." "Very much." He said, "Good. Now tomorrow you cook for her." This is Krishna consciousness. Not that we sit on our bottoms and everybody's serving. No. Reciprocation must be there. He didn't think, oh, she's a married woman, you're a brahmachari. No. No, he said, you cook for her tomorrow. This is your service. I didn't. It would have been an insult for her to eat anything I cooked. But the mood was there. Understanding is there, what it means to be a devotee. This was as much segregation as we had. Men on one side, women on the other. Everything, Prabhupada, was equal. We were dealt with equally. We didn't make any distinction. Prabhupada didn't make any distinctions. He would say his grahastas, he said, you're better than sannyasis. This is how he encouraged us. He said, you have a beautiful wife and you're celibate. He said, you're better than the sannyasis. You're living with a beautiful wife. So in this way, he encouraged everyone. It didn't matter, you were brahmachari, you were sannyasi, you were grahasta. We know he opened up England. With what? 3 grahasta couples. He didn't send he said, my guru, he sent sannyasis. I'm sending my grahastas. And they opened up temples all around the world by Prabhupada's potency. So that was one of my first experiences there. I was very fortunate. I got to be with Srila Prabhupada in 1972 here for Kirti. I was with him here in 1973. I traveled the whole year. In that 16 months, first time, Prabhupada went around the world 3 times in 16 months. Around the world, 3 times. So I was with him here in 73. Then I was with him here in 1974 when finally Krishna Balaram Mandir was supposed to open for Janmashtami in 1974. Prabhupada came here. They were nowhere near completion, so it was canceled. Even devotees came from around the world for the grand opening of Krishna Balaram Mandir, but there wasn't one. It didn't open for more than 6 months later. I was here for that, 1975. It was April. What day did it open? What festival day? Ram Navami, yes. 2 years from now will be the Diamond Jubilee, 50 years, anniversary of the opening of this temple. You've all come here. This is Prabhupada's home. We know everywhere Prabhupada had a home. And he said, what did he do? Prabhupada left Vrindavan to bring Vrindavan to everyone. And every temple, he said, is Vaikuntha, non-different from Vrindavan. But Vrindavan is also special. He said, you come here. He said, you do 1% here. What's it become? 100 times. You do service here, it becomes 100 times. You chant your rounds here, like chanting 100 times. You do your service, 100 times the benefit. But you make offenses, also 100 times. Vrindavan is very, Mayapur we say non-different, but different. Mayapur, Lord Chaitanya is very, very merciful. Krishna, Prabhupada said, in that one famous lecture. Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, he said, they're very kind, giving love of God, everyone, freely. He said, Krishna, he requires surrender. So Vrindavan's a different mood. And we'll see that. Krishna Balaram, if you stay here, and somehow you'll do some service here, and I encourage you all, when you come here, you bring something for the deities, huh? Especially for the kitchen. Nice ghee, honey, dried fruits, all top quality things you offer to the deities. And Krishna Balaram, they'll take you. Here, we start doing some service here. I don't even know I have a wife anymore. Krishna Balaram stole her. She's got a whole department, cleaning silver, making jewelry, getting everything ready for Abhisheks, all the gomuks, big gomuks, polishing silver, everything. This is what she's doing with a team of ladies. Because Prabhupada said in Vrindavan, he said, ladies behind the scenes. Vrindavan is a very special place. He said that not that they can be on the altar. He said, but behind the scenes, so much service. And in this way, it's no different. And then they were also engaging me. What did we have the other day? You were all here, Chandan Yatra. Anyone more beautiful than the deities? They're most beautiful. And Krishna Balaram there. So I got to put Chandan and Krishna Balaram for 5 hours in the afternoon, from 1:30 to 5:30. So there's like so many men on the altar, all pushing, putting chandan all over from their toes down to their head, just putting chandan. So I also, by the mercy of Prabhupada, when he did the first artik, 1975, I was right behind him on the altar. It took me 50 years to realize this is my home. Because it's Prabhupada's home. It's all of your home, this place. You come here to take shelter. Prabhupada said, if you have any difficulty, who do you pray to? Balaram. He said, you take your problem to Lord Balaram. He can take care of anything. Yeah? So we do that. We have some problem, we take it to Lord Balaram. Sometimes we go into Prabhupada's room, his sitting room. We take it to Prabhupada there in his room. He's a person. Krishna Balaram, person, supreme person. Anyway, we're also fortunate. 1975, sometimes Prabhupada would say the next 76, how many people came, took darshan today? Sometimes there were 10, 20, 50 people coming to take darshan in an entire day. No one could even come here. Nothing was here, nothing but fields. It was very beautiful. I would walk on the road with Prabhupada, Chittakar Road, Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg. No big gate was there. Nothing was there. No shops, no people. We would see more camels on the road than people. Sometimes you'd see a tanga. Sometimes you'd see vultures. This place had so many vultures, peacocks, hogs. It was just like reading Bhagavad Gita. When I came here, that's what I thought. Vrindavan is just like living Bhagavad Gita. All the examples Prabhupada would use. You'd see the camel. What did they do? They, up in the tree, they eat the thorny bushes. And they're enjoying it. It wasn't just a story, it's the fact. It mixes with their blood. They think it's very tasty. They're tasting their home. So you see all these things going on. I would see corpse, dead cow on the side of the road. vultures. So you got to see everything. In the West, they hide all these things. You'd never see, unless you went to someone's funeral. You never saw a dead body. Here, we go by Keshagat one day, a dead body inside one of the rooms. You don't know how long it's been there. No one even touches it. So everything was right there. Everything Prabhupada told us and showed us was present right in front of us. So, Prabhupada, when he was here in 74, the temple didn't open because it wasn't ready. But he was here for almost a month, and he got very sick. This was the very first serious illness that most of us had known. He stopped eating for 2 weeks. He didn't eat anything. Just like you see his bed in his room. We had the bed in his sitting room. He just sit there. Still, he was managing, preparing for the opening of the temple, just from lying in his bed. And then one day the governor came. Again, this is before the opening, 6 months before the opening. At that time, just getting concrete, cement, was very difficult. Everything was rationed, just like food in Russia. They would ration all building materials here. It made it very difficult. So this governor, he arranged for more cement to come in so they could continue the work. So because he came, Prabhupada went into the temple room. Temple room was there, not finished, to speak. I would have to every day put my arms under him to walk him to the bathroom, walk him back to his bed. Every day I would do this, every evening. But this governor came who was helping the temple. So Prabhupada said, I have to go speak, give class in the temple room. And he hadn't eaten. So he had me get everything ready. I shaved his face. I never shaved, that was the only one time. He had me shave his face before he would go out and give lecture, because he hadn't shaved. You see mine, I have a few days. But his would never even get this long. Prabhupada would shave at least every other day. He would shave his face. Always kept very clean. He liked shaved face. So because he was so weak, he had me use just a simple razor blade, with Gillette razor, and I had to shave. I moved. You see Prabhupada's face, and lots of circulation. And you had to be very, very careful. When I became his servant, I had to shave his head. He would just use electric clippers, no razor blade. So the first day, that's why I say when Prabhupada said anyone can massage, no. Not anyone can do anything properly unless he lets you know what you're supposed to do. So the electric clippers, he said, when you shave my head, he said, you get the clipper, he goes, and then you turn it off. You go back to here, you turn it back on, you turn it off, and this is what I had to do, because he said it got hot on his head. He didn't like the hot on his head. So you kept turning it on and off, going. And then he said, be very careful around the ears. It's the same thing I say to my wife. Be very careful around, because as soon as it pinches your ears, there's electric clippers. So he said, be very careful. So I was, and you're shaving it. So this day I had to use the razor blade and shave his face. So he shaved, and I gave him a cloth and washed. He did it all sitting in the bed. And then he had me get his chandan, put a tilak on, because he's going to go out and meet the public. Must have a tilak. So I put his tilak on. Then I went to the bathroom to do something. And he said, okay, he said, we need to go out. And he looked at me. He said, do I have a tilak on? He had just put it on 2 minutes before. This is how fever he had. But he was going to go out and give a class. And I put my arms under him. We went outside. He sat down and he gave a lecture for 15 minutes. You would have never known. He had been lying in bed not eating for over a week. He gave a very nice lecture. Thanked the man, his appreciation to the governor, everything. Talk about how important this temple is. And then again, I brought him back in and he went back and laid down. This is a devotee. Whatever his condition is, he's doing service. We understand Prabhupada's last days, he's still translating. Body is not, but everything here was perfect. Even though no food, hardly any water. So then gradually Srila Prabhupada started to get better. He did say the Guru has to suffer when his disciples are not following. He said, that's why I've become sick. He said, so many disciples. He said that was his curse, taking on so many disciples. So then as he got better, he would sit under the tamal tree. You all know the famous spot, the tamal tree. Where is that tamal tree in relation to the temple? It's right in front of Radharani, because that's how she sees Krishna. She sees the tamal tree, that's Krishna there, blackish, like Krishna. Even he's right there beside her. This is Radharani's mood, that tamal tree is there. Such a blessed tree. He would sit under the tree and listen to class in the evening. You would have Bhagavad Gita class. In your temple you have Bhagavad Gita class every evening, yes. Prabhupada's program, morning and evening class. Not just morning class and then you do whatever. No, in the ashram, morning class, evening class. We called it the ISKCON sandwich. You know what sandwich is? Sandwich. So your Bhagavatam class was the bottom bread, and Bhagavad Gita class was, and in the middle was your service all day long. So that was the ISKCON sandwich. Prabhupada called it the routine. Most important routine. Morning program. Rise early in the morning. Right here in Vrindavan. Radha Damodar temple. I was a new devotee, so I was always getting up early in the morning. I was Prabhupada's servant. I had no choice. Every day I had to be ready when he rings the bell. But some of my godbrothers, they were older. They were from 66, 67. They had different. So sometimes they didn't get up real early in the morning. They would get up for Prabhupada's morning walk. That was like 6 in the morning. Sometimes. Traveling was difficult. Always travel. So one morning I'm on that balcony between the 2 rooms and Prabhupada rings the bell. He said, where are the others? I knew what the others were. He was our temple president. He wasn't just founder, Acharya, Guru. He was our president, he was our temple commander, he was our treasurer. He made all arrangements. So he said, where are the others? Resting. Call them. This was the first of a dozen times in 2 years. Call them. Might be them, might be somebody else. If you were sleeping, he didn't like it. Only at nighttime. You can have a short nap if necessary in the after lunch. He said 15 minutes. If you don't get enough rest at night, 15 minutes. That's what Prabhupada would do after lunch. At nighttime he only slept 2 hours. We can't do that. But he said 6 hours if you need a little more after lunch. Call them. So then the three of us come in and we're sitting in front of Prabhupada in his room, Radha Damodar temple. And he said, "Why are you sleeping?" He would say this so much. "Why are you sleeping?" Sometimes he would say, "Well, you're sleeping." He said, "All the karmis are working." But no, not the devotees. He said, sleeping very comfortably. He said the karmis working very hard for their sex life. But your devotees sleeping like dead men. You call us dead. He would say very graphic details. So now he's saying, he said, you should get up early in the morning. He said, very important to get up in Mangala. He said, and take cold bath. He said, taking a cold bath is not an austerity. He said, it's common sense. It's Ayurveda, that's what you do. You rise, you see it everywhere. Village life, you know, they just take cold bath. It's the most healthy thing you can do when you get up. Not a hot shower, cold bath. Even shower, Prabhupada never used shower. Bucket, and what? Lota. And lota. Maybe some life I can become Prabhupada's lota and do some service. He would use bucket bath. 1 bucket, sometimes 2 buckets, that's all. Showers, they say very bad, hitting your head. All these things. So he said, rising early, take cold bath. He said, and attending the morning program. He said, the most important thing we can do as devotees. Rise early, go to Mangalarti, chant your rounds, attend Bhagavatam class. He called it the routine. Routine, in English, routine means just the constant thing you do every day. You don't even think about it. It's your routine. That's how we're supposed to be, a routine. And you never grow out of it. Not that I've been around now for 52 years, and I no longer have to go to them. That's for you youngsters, you new devotees. No, everyone. He told his disciples, even you're very advanced, he said, you go to the morning program, set an example for the others. I was with him for 8 months as his personal servant. And I was, to be personal servant, to be servant, we're all servants of Krishna. To be personal servant, most important thing you can do is be attentive. Conscious. Our whole society is based on being attentive to Krishna. And when you're personal servant, you got to be attentive to your spiritual master. Right here, Krishna Balaram Mandir, he's called me in his room one day. When he would tell me things, I never realized he was telling me, because he would say everything. He would preach to me in a very detached manner. And I would just assume he's just talking in general. He was never talking in general to me. He was very specific. But he called me in the room and he said, first-class servant knows what to do without being asked. If he's asking you, you've already missed it. You're already gone. You're useless. You're rascal, fool. Called me rascal, fool. Called me malecha. Very nice. That's first-class servant. Knows what to do before he's asked. Second class, he said. Second class. You ask him to do it and he does it. Then there's third class. What's that? You ask him to do it and he said he doesn't do it, or he does it begrudgingly. You know that word? With a grudge. In other words, he doesn't even want to do it, but he does it because that's his service. It's his job. That's third class. So he's telling me you should be first class servant. That means pay attention. Know. Every day. Doing the same thing, just like the deity. Program is like clockwork with the deities here. And I would say being personal servant You're a pujari. You're a pujari. The Guru's your deity. We worship Prabhupada. He's everywhere here. He's in his room. He's upstairs in his room. He's in the sitting room next door. There's a murti in the garden. The samadhi is there. He's literally there in the samadhi. His transcendental form is right there in the samadhi. And his murti is there. Then the murti's in the temple room in the courtyard. And then his murti's on the altar. This is Vrindavan. Everywhere is Prabhupada. If you come here, it's because of Srila Prabhupada. We're all here because of the same reason. Here in Vrindavan, he trained me so many ways. He would ring the bell, and I'd come in, always offer obeisances. Even if you do it 100 times a day. He never said to me, you've offered it enough today. He never said that. You don't need to do it anymore today. You've been down on your knees enough. He never said that. During lunchtime, I might go in his room 10 times. Just during 20 minutes of lunch, bringing in chapati. Then bringing in the next chapati, bringing in the next chapati. Each time chapati puffed up, little ghee on the top. If it's not puffed up, throw it away. He's not going to eat it. Or he'll throw it away. Like he did with Hari Kesh, like a frisbee. You know a frisbee? No good. Every time I come in with the chapati on the little silver plate, little ghee on the top, and it's still like this, steam inside. And I'd slide it onto his plate, and I'd offer obeisances, and you'd hear Prabhupada. And that was the most ecstatic sound. He's happy. He got puffed up chapati. Not us. We shouldn't be puffed up. Chapatis should be puffed up. Otherwise, they're no good. Can't digest it. So I might bring him 6 chapatis and bring him a little more every time I come in, offer obeisances. He never said, okay, that's enough, one story. Never said it. Why? Because it's good for you. Your whole, whenever you come into the temple, you offer obeisances. Anytime you can offer obeisances, do it. Helps you become humble. So I would do it all the time. And when Vrindavan, I would come into his room, he'd ring the bell. I had to be able to hear the bell. So I was never more than 10 meters away. Sometimes in a room, sometimes in a hallway, sometimes right outside it. I had to be able to hear the bell. Here in Vrindavan, I had a little room right behind his sitting room. So he rang the bell, I go in, and he would just look at me. He didn't open his mouth. He would look at me and go, it meant turn the fans on. This is how attentive you had to be. Or he would look at the curtains, open the curtains. If he looked and the curtains were open, close the curtains. Just by looking at you. If I was really good, I would have known even before. It's time. Because everything was time. He taught me how to get rid of all the flies in his room. In the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, in his sitting room. Close all the curtains, turn out all the lights, and make one slit in the curtain by the open door. And then I would go around his room with a gumshoe like this. This is how he told me, and all the flies, of course, they'd fly right out. They'd look for the light and go to the light. Yeah. Go to the light. So they would go to the light, they'd all be gone. He had such simple ways doing everything. He brushed his teeth. Datum. You all know datum? Nice little mango twig, eucalyptus twig, neem twig. Nice antiseptic twig. They look like a pencil, size of a pencil. Here in Vrindavan in those days, you could go to the market, you could get a pack, like a pack of cigarettes. You'd get a pack of datum, 20 datum for a few rupees. Imagine other places in the world, sometimes I'd have to go wandering out in the street, New York City, trying to find a twig. In New York City, there are no trees anywhere in the city. But he would use a twig. He said, ew, toothbrush, plastic toothbrush, disgusting. Use it once, you throw it away. You shouldn't use it again. So this was, Prabhupada never changed that style. So then you chew on it, and then you have the bristles, and then you bend it in half, it snaps, and then it becomes tongue cleaner. And then I would give it away to devotees, Prabhupada's datum. A hair from his head. I gave away so much hair. I gave away Brahmin threads. His hair, his Mahaprasadam. We just longed anything to do with Srila Prabhupada. We wanted it. So that was my good fortune to be there with him during all these things. So one morning, he had been in Los Angeles for 6 weeks. This was 1973. So I've been with him now like 8 months. He stayed there for 6 weeks. So I got to know many of the devotees, the different boys and things. And some of their wives, one of them cleaned Prabhupada's laundry. Some would do this, some would do that. So a couple of these boys, we were all from the same area, same age. They said, why don't you come to Mongol Artik? And I'm like, Prabhupada's servant. I said, he rings the bell, I've got to go in the room. And they said, does he ever ring the bell at 4:30 in the morning? I said, no. I said, but you might. Or you should come to Mongol Artik. So anyway, they convinced me, this is so nice. And when Prabhupada was anywhere, every day was a festival. Not like just an ordinary, there was no such thing as ordinary around Prabhupada. Every day was Janmashtami. You go into the temple room, everyone's in ecstasy, jumping up and down. Every day was like that. So they come to Mongol Artik, Parikits leading Kirtan, Bhardaraj, these were all big, big names back then. Are big kirtan leaders. So one morning, I went to Mongol Artik. I had to go down the stairs from Prabhupada's room, and there was a door right into the temple room. So I'm at Mongol Artik, and it was ecstatic. Rukmini Dwarkadish, and person leading, and 100 devotees or more chanting, everyone's in ecstasy. So after 10 minutes or so, from behind, somebody taps me on the shoulder. It's Prajumna. Prajumna was Prabhupada's Sanskrit editor. The whole time Prabhupada was here. 10 years. Prabhupada wants to see you when he's really mad. This was one of our mantras when we were with Prabhupada. I could say as secretary, Prabhupada wants to see you when he's really mad. If he wanted to see you, it means he's mad. He's angry. He wants to see you when he's really mad. I thought, oh no. It was the only time Prabhupada ever rang the bell before 5 in the morning. I'd been with him a year. Never. One day I went to Mongol Artik and he rings the bell. And Shruta Kirti is not in the servants' quarters. So I go upstairs and I know he's going to chastise me. Want to raise his voice. It was never nice when Prabhupada yelled. When you look back, it was very nice. Prabhupada getting chastised by the Guru is actually wonderful. And you never forget being chastised. You might forget everything, but if he's chastising you, you remember that. So I go up and I know I'm going to get chastised. And I offer my obeisances, and while I'm down on the ground, he's already yelling. Where have you been? I've been ringing this bell for hours. He would say hours, sometimes years. That's transcendental time. Yeah, like we know, Lord Brahma, what did he, just for a moment, was 1 year. So Prabhupada had different understanding of time. Sometimes he could say, I've been ringing my bell for years. Where you been? I said, Prabhupada, I went to Mongol Arctic. He said, you have no business going to Mongol Arctic. He said, what if I need something? He said, if you're not in the room, he said, you have to be in your room 24 hours a day in case I need something. I said, yes, Prabhupada. I never went to Mongol Arctic again. I was the only devotee in ISKCON. I was in Maya because I went to Mongol Arctic. I was in Maya. You're all in Maya. If you don't go to Mongol Arctic, you're in Maya. I was in Maya because I went to Mongol Arctic. That's Krishna consciousness. It's not a ritual. You have to understand your service, what it is you're supposed to be doing for your spiritual master. He's the key. He's the key. Unlock the door to bring you here to Vrindavan. And at the end of your life, he's the key. He brings you to your next body, whatever that may be. So we have about 15 minutes left. So I think we can open it up to some questions. But this is just, we're just scratching the surface. We're just not even inside the honey jar. We're just on the outside of the rim. You bring me to Bangalore. Well, we can dive into the honey more and more every day. Because when you understand Srila Prabhupada just a little bit, when you can feel some ecstasy from Srila Prabhupada, then everything is very nice. Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It was really, really wonderful. We can really feel Prabhupada with your body. Thank you very much. So, we always have a desire, aspiration, and we want to please Prabhupada. So, how can we please Prabhupada? You know the best because you are always thinking, meditating on the Indians and Indians. How to please
You know that again, there's different levels of pleasure. Prabhupada gave different answers at different times. Once, big Sankirtan book distributor asked Prabhupada. That was in Atlanta. Atlanta was very special. 3 days he was there. Very, very special. 1975. But one book distributor asked Prabhupada, how can we please you the most? So what did he expect? Distribute my books, right? Of course, Prabhupada was not a politician. Prabhupada said, you develop your love of Krishna. Because if you do that, then you'll know what you're supposed to do. But aside from that, sometimes GBC asked, he said, you take trouble for me. Once in Juhu, one congregational member, Indian man, asked Prabhupada, can I get your blessings? Ooh, that's a dangerous thing, asking for blessings. You don't ask for blessings. If you have any understanding, blessings are already there. You have to take them by doing something. Prabhupada said, blessings are there. He's given us everything. That's his blessings. You take it up. You take those blessings, you do something with it. There's no question asking for blessings. That's very typical. Here, my wife and I don't know if any of you know, some of you might be on Instagram. She does a lot on Instagram, and she's very, we say, very fanatical. She doesn't give anything but Prabhupada. No, none of this. She goes right there, tells people surrender. Anyway, people come here, they know her, they know me through Instagram. I don't know anyone, I'm never on Instagram. And they said, please give me your blessings. So what, I have no blessings. Prabhupada's giving blessings. You just follow his instructions, then you have blessings. Otherwise, you can beg all you want. You're not going to get any, you're not going to get anything because you don't take up the process. Where was I? Yes. So this man asked Prabhupada, give me your blessings. Prabhupada looked at him. He said, I have so many headaches. He says, this person's doing this, this one, this is wrong, so many things not going on. He said, you want my blessings? He said, you take some of my headache. So this is our business. You relieve the spiritual master of his burden. That's how you get blessings. We're following his instructions. This is the important thing. In the beginning, we can be very blessed. You chant Hare Krishna, be happy. He would say that. That's the beginning. But then, you want more, you do more. You want ecstasy, you got to take some austerity. You see Prabhupada's disciples. They don't quit. We don't know what it is. Retire. Like here now, I'm 72 years old in a month. What retirement? I'm here preaching. This group comes, Zoom classes come, doing service on the altar. There's no retirement for a devotee. We would say, what? Work now, samadhi later. So whatever your situation, grahastha, you have a nice family, you worship the deity in the home, you have your tulsi plant, you offer everything. No different. It should be just like the temple. Then that's service. You train the children nicely in Krishna consciousness, our biggest asset. And for so many decades we've failed our children. But it's never too late to start, to do what's right, to take care, to follow Prabhupada's program. You hear when Prabhupada would talk about his mother and his father with such love and affection. His mother was the strict one. His father was whatever Prabhupada wants, Prabhupada gets. That was father. I was massaging him one night in Juhu. He's in bed. When he's in his bedroom, no one is there except the servant. No one walks in the door. He's taking evening massage, dry, his feet, his legs, sometimes his back, and he would just sit, very relaxed. So one day he told me, one evening, while I was giving massage, he had puffed rice for dinner, 8 o'clock at night, puffed rice and hot milk. Every night, hot milk. Puffed rice. So he's lying there, and he's remembering. He said, my mother, she made first-class puffed rice. She was first-class cook, he said. She would make the puffs. She would puff the rice in the wok with the sand. Hot, hot, hot. Put the rice in, puffs, certain kind of rice. So she would make the puffed rice. He's describing it. The sand. He said, she was first-class cook. Then he said, my sister, she was also first-class cook. All this time I'm massaging him. I don't just sit there and listen. No. Connection is by service. My connection was literally touching him at the time. That was my service. He's talking the most ecstatic, blissful times of his childhood to me in his room. I'm doing my service. If your service stops, everything stops. He said, my sister also is first-class cook. My mother taught her. He said, I'm also first-class cook. He said, but I learned just by watching. He would say that about different things. Prabhupada was so sharp. He could just see something once and he would know how to do it. He said, just by watching. And Prabhupada was excellent cook. Excellent at everything. Cooking is excellent. He said so many stories that we don't have so much time. He said so many things. And then he said, one night, I told my mother, no, he's just a young boy. He didn't say maybe he's 5, 6, 7, I don't know. He said, I told my mother, I want puris. She said, no. It's too late. She said, I'll make you muri, puffed rice. Prabhupada, you don't tell Prabhupada what to do, what not to do. Not a good idea. Even when he's a child. So he said, I want puris. And again, his mother was trying to take care of him. And puris, too late. Fried, deep fried. No, I'll make you puffed rice. We know 3 is a big number, Vedic. 3, everything's 3. You have 3, you have a dozen. There's so many numbers, 108, 9, 3. So then the third time, he said, I want puris. He's telling me this. He's a little boy. And then his father said, if he wants puris, give him puris. And then he looked at me, he said, perhaps my father knew. And that's all he said about it. Perhaps my father knew. Knew what we all know, what Prabhupada himself knew. He was here to deliver the whole world. Yeah, the whole world he came to deliver. He's saying, perhaps my father knew who I am. He said it to me twice. There's a couple things twice. When I first read Krishna book to him, before I was his servant, every afternoon I read Krishna book in his garden in Los Angeles for 5 days while I was there. I became the designated Krishna book reader. And devotional service was like that. Once you took a service on, that's your service. You should be ready to do that the rest of your life. We didn't always manage that. But that was the idea. You have a service, you don't ever give it up unless you're given some instruction. So I read Krishna book. The very first day I was sitting in front of him and I had the Krishna book in my hands. And he looked at me. He said, I like the Cowherd Boys very much. And then I read a story. That was 1972, May. 3 years later, March 1975, we're in Atlanta Temple. It was very ecstatic 3 days. So the first night we go upstairs, Prabhupada's in his bed, I'm at his feet, I'm massaging his legs, massaging his feet, and he's looking at a big painting of Krishna Balaram in the forest, cowherd boys, so many calves are there, you know that painting. So while I'm massaging Prabhupada, he's looking at this painting on the back wall. And as I'm massaging, he says, I like the Cowherd Boys very much. It was the second time he said it. And then he starts talking. What am I doing? Massaging, doing my service. You want nectar? You've got to do something. You want to be happy, feel ecstasy? You got to do some service. I'm doing my service. And he's rewarding me, talking to me like I was a friend. And he's looking. He said every day, Krishna and Balaram would go into the forest and take care of the calves. He said they were little boys. They were taking care of the calves, not the cows. So that means they're just like 5, 6 years old. Huh? And he said before they would go, all the mothers, the Matajis, they would make tiffins for the cowherd boys. They would all go in because they spent the whole day. So they had to bring their lunch. He said, and of course, Krishna's mother Yasoda, what's she giving Krishna? Kachori, Ladu, Puri, Halava. The cowherd boys, they have chapati, rice, like that. This is what he's saying as I'm massaging. He's in deep meditation. And then he says they would play. We read in Krishna book how to play so many different games. They would play with bale fruits, you know, this fruit, that, play ball, play in the water on each other. He says, and then they would stop for lunch. He says, and the cowherd boys, they would grab Krishna's lunch and they would keep away. They would pass it on, this one, that one, this one. So then finally he said, the cowherd boys, they would take Krishna's lunch and they would give Krishna one of their lunches. So then they would eat Krishna's lunch, kachori, laddu. And then he said, I just want to go back to the spiritual world and eat kachori and laddu with Krishna. And then he closed his eyes and I kept massaging until he would go. That meant, okay, now you can take rest. Sometime 10 o'clock, 10:30, you didn't know. And you didn't stop until he told you you could stop. That was not something you should know without him asking, because I tried that. No massage, you massage him until he tells you to stop. He said that to me. You massage me until I tell you to stop, not until you tell me to stop. All right, it's noontime. I have a program coming up soon as well. Any more questions? I kind of got off. But I hear I'm living in Vrindavan. If we can make some arrangements, sometime go there for a nice program, I'd be very happy if you would have me. Yes, Prabhu.
As you are saying, the jar that we are touching from outside is so nectarian, then how nectarian it would be once we open the jar and go inside and taste that. So we request you to please, Prabhupada request to visit us in Bangalore and we'll open the jar and go deep inside that.
Thank you. Yes. I've always wanted, because, Bangalore is a very famous place in ISKCON. Vrindavan, we say, the most important temple in ISKCON, but Bangalore has its own special taste there. I've always been eager to go to our ISKCON temple in Bangalore. Yes. Yes.
I have a question. That 1970 to 2023, been 52 years of dedicated service to Srila Prabhupada mission. So what keeps you going with this sincerity and motivation?
That's a very good question. I don't know. Prabhupada's mercy. I was with him long enough to understand he's very, very merciful and very compassionate. And if we just do a little service, despite being nonsense rascal, somehow he allows me to do service. And it took me, as I said, literally, I would come to Vrindavan, as a grahasta. I had a business for 20 years. I would come and stay for 2 weeks. And one of my mantras was, I don't want to live in Vrindavan, but I want to die in Vrindavan. So it took me 50 years. I've been here for 4 years now. Now I just want to live in Vrindavan. Because whatever I do, this is such an important center of Srila Prabhupada's. I want to try to somehow or other keep Prabhupada's presence here in Vrindavan, which is everywhere, but that we all understand, and Prabhupada's love for this place and his love for all of you. As I said, and I would say, only Prabhupada, your guru, only guru can give you service, and only your guru can take it away. There might be other agents, but we should understand, no one, whatever happens, that's what Prabhupada said, whatever may happen in the temples, my books are there, BBT was there. That's why he made it separate. So that always goes on. So Krishna consciousness, there's so many buildings here, buildings, they don't matter. Prabhupada, everywhere he went, if the weather was nice, he'd go sit under a tree. He didn't care about his fancy room at Bhaktivedanta Manor, this place, that. No, he'd sit under a tree, preach, and chant. He was very happy. So this is our business. It's not about buildings, not about getting facility. I take a certain service so I can get a room, get my cell phone, get a computer. No! We want to become lovers of Krishna. This is our business. Man, woman, child, whatever it is, this is our business. And the more we do that and facility comes, it's wonderful. If no facility comes, we have our tongue, we have our ears, we chant Hare Krishna. Once brahmachari here, Prabhupada, how do I control my mind when I'm chanting japa? So many times I would see young men ask, how do I control my mind? We have, right, japa retreats, first level, second level, third level, every day, 3 days, 4 days. Prabhupada said, there's no question of mind. He said, you chant with the tongue, and as he would use, Prabhupada would use, he said, you chant with the tongue and you hear with the ears. So he just bypassed what was, you chant with the tongue, you hear with the ears. They say, shortest japa retreat ever. That's all we have to do. There's no gymnastics. You chant the mantra and you try to hear. Everything is there. It's not see, Prabhupada taught me Krishna consciousness. He said it's easy. Determination, difficult. To have that determination. Huh? And many of us struggle. I've struggled my whole 52 years. But now, 72 years old, you have to be serious. Any moment. Any of us could be going any moment. But certainly when you're in your 70s, you can literally be going any moment, just like that. So what do? We just keep trying. Try. And here in Vrindavan, there's so much mercy here. And if you apply yourself, I see the deities, I see Srila Prabhupada all the time, giving me assistance, giving me intelligence, giving me memory. I can't remember anything. I can forget something and it'll just pop in my head, and I think, that's Krishna in my heart. I accept everything coming from Krishna, my struggles, my ease, whatever it is, it's coming by my spiritual master to make me better. You know, everything Krishna does is auspicious. Nothing is inauspicious. We might do things that are inauspicious, and he'll do something auspicious to bring you back, and that might cause you a lot of pain. But he's only trying to help. All right, I think we need to stop here. I can go on, but you also have a busy day. What are you doing this afternoon? Ravel, yes. Ravel, very special place. 2001, I was in Prabhupada's Samadhi after Mangalarti. Radhanath Swami came in. He said, you want to give the lecture today? He said, it's the first day of our pilgrimage. They were going, at that time they only had like a dozen buses. And I think it was 2,000 people, it was small. He said, you want to give the first class? Talk about Prabhupada? I said, okay. So we went to Ravel. It's a little different now to have walls around, but you'll see the tree. We sat under the tree, 2,000 people were out in the sun. I guess I started about 10 in the morning, and I talked for 2 hours. And I turned to Maharaj and said, should I stop? And he would, you know, should he continue? I gave a 5-hour class. No one moved for 5 hours. Everyone just sat there. Simultaneous translation was going on. It was the most amazing thing. So that happened at Ravel. Last year I took a little scooter ride to Ravel. It's about almost an hour away, I guess. And I got there about 8 in the morning, and I was in front of Radharani. And I thought, the last time I was here was with Radhanath Maharaj. So I thought, let me call him up. He's not going to answer, because he's Radhanath Maharaj. So I called up, he answered right away. As soon as he answered, I just turned the phone. I said, Maharaj, I'm in Ravel. He was so excited, he was so happy. So anything can happen in Krishna consciousness. Nothing is impossible for us. Huh? Like Shama Sundar's book, you know, Chasing the Rhino. It was killing the rhino, but that sounded a little, in this day and age, you can't say anything. We're chasing the rhino. But everything Prabhupada does was just nectar. So, thank you all very much. I hope to see you all again soon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Oh, so my book is there. Many years ago, I gave the, what do you call it, the copyright of my book to Vrindavan BBT. So this is the book. So many stories. It's very personal. And what is the difficulty? If you want, you can get it in Matchless Gifts, or I think even in the International Bookshop there. And if you're around till Friday and you happen to see me at Mangalarti time or during class, and you like, I'll sign it. I sign it for you. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. That was really very entertaining. It was entertaining? So it was only 2 hours, maybe 3 more hours.
Yes.
So let us thank Prabhuji for such a wonderful class.
This is what do they call this? This was just a yes. Yes, this is just a little yes. Just so that you bring me to Bangalore. So I'll not say anything else here. No more talking about that. You have to bring me to Bangalore. Then we'll open it up. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna.
Let us thank Prabhuji from the bottom of my heart. I now be chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Devotees, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hare